set, go! Gotta make a layup. Make a layup, gotta make a layup. There it is. Elisa's got one. Charlene's got one. Run to the middle. Moving at a mid-range pace, I guess I could say. Elisa's got another one. Charlene's got to make a layup. Elisa. Okay, going to the far side. Charlene's still trying to make her layup. There she goes. Where's Charlene going to go? Oh, good block, Charlene. Where are we going, Elisa? Nope, 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 Charlie. Elisa, that's already there. Look. Find another spot. Here we go. Okay. 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 Here we go again. Here we go again. And there we go. Yep. That's what happens here, I guess. Now, whoever has the most game pieces on the board is going to be our winner. And it looks like 1, 2, 3. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 X's and 4 circles. That means Elisa and our X's are going to be our winner. Despite all of their best efforts, someone's got to win, and it's Elisa with the most game pieces.
Take this off the screen.
We're going to turn the tables on you for this last one. For the first time ever, we're going to do this. After Luka Doncic hit the game-winning shot in Game 4, you went on Twitter. This is what Swagoo said.
Doc Rivers was one of the greatest. That's a player era. Kawhi had been working on Luka a little bit, and they switch it. Ow! Luka Doncic. Say, bro, this is gonna be a problem for a long time. He threw 21. He 21.
That is what Swagoo said. Let's let Big Perk react. Big Perk, what is your reaction to what Swagoo said?
I see no lies, Greedy. Look, he's not lying. Luka is going to be a problem for a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean 15 years plus. You're talking about a guy who don't rely on athleticism. He's getting all this done at the age of 21, and he can't even jump over a pencil. You know, this guy probably have a 10-inch vertical and can hoop out this world. He is a problem. So I see what Swagoo did his video, man. It was hilarious, and he's on point as usual.
Swagoo, I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed following you, following these basketball games, and I know you got the pro tip from your wife. That's where you got the call that shot was going to go down.
No doubt. No doubt, G. No doubt. The only reason we couldn't play my wife because she cursed. We cursed at the night home. But what she said was that Luka put Reggie Jackson on ice, and then he was able to set his feet for the jump shot. And she said once she saw his feet set, the game was over. And that's one thing shooters know. And my wife was a shooter. She could shoot you out the gym. If you let them set their feet, 9 times out of 10, you going home, bro. And that's what happened.
Okay, so that brings us to our poll question today, guys. It's on my Twitter page, and look, we are we're professional overreactors. But coming off of the Luka game the other day, if you could start a franchise right now with 21-year-old Luka Doncic or 25-year-old Giannis Antetokounmpo, who would you take? You can vote on my Twitter page at ESPN Greeny. And I'm adding to the conversation, I'm bringing in our insider extraordinaire, Zach Lowe, host of the Low Post podcast. And Zach, I will start this one with you. If you were building a franchise right now, and you can start it with either Luka or Giannis, who you got?
Well, the real answer is I'm doing cartwheels with either one, but I can't believe I'm saying this because I just voted Giannis Antetokounmpo MVP for the second year in a row. But I'm going Luka, and the reason I'm going Luka is not just the 4 years. I'm even throwing that out. Luka has no holes in his offensive game. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass, he can shoot from everywhere on the floor. And Giannis has that one little hole. It's getting a little smaller every year, but the no holes offensive game, I have greater flexibility to build my team around Luka. If I have a rim running, shot blocking center who can't shoot jumpers, Luka can use that guy. Giannis, as we've seen with Brook Lopez, they've had to change him into a different kind of player. If I have a defensive specialist on the wing who's maybe a shaky three-point shooter, bring that guy in. I can use him because Luka can shoot fine. So I can't, I'm shocked I'm saying this, but I'm going Luka Doncic
him and Giannis.
Now, Swagger, let me come to you, and let me phrase this a different way. Are we overreacting to the moment? I mean, I've been doing this for 21 years, right? You come on the next day, you got to say something. This is a moment, and I see Zach Lowe shaking his head vigorously. I'll come back to you in a second. But Marcus, if we had asked this question a week ago, do you think, right now it's like 70-something% of the people voting on my poll are taking Luka Doncic. Do you think that would have been the case 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it would have been the case. Listen, we all know that the skill has taken over in basketball, and this is by no means to say that Giannis isn't skilled, but we all understand what Giannis needs to do to improve his game. Luka is a 6'7", 6'8" point guard. That's an advantage in every basketball game he'll ever play in his entire life. We look at Giannis, and I say, look, when you look at Giannis play from a skill level position, you think that Giannis has a ways to go for his game. I look at AD and I say that's a better version of Giannis. He might not have the strength, but Anthony Davis is a better version of Giannis Antetokounmpo, even though he's going to win the MVP because he's asked to do more for his team. Giannis, I'm speaking of. But when you look at Luka, every player in the NBA at some point is going to want to play with a guy that can set them up and position them to not only be better players, but to get a paycheck. What did LeBron do for so many of his teammates? Got them paid. That's what Luka Doncic is going to do for a lot of people in this league based on the way he plays basketball. Oh, and by the way, it's not the year 2020 anymore. The year is called 43, 17, and 13.
Luka's numbers from the other day. Zach, why were you shaking your head? Final word. You were shaking your head vigorously.
Well, I mean, it's not just a moment. He averaged 29, 9, and 9 this year, and a moment matters in the playoffs against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Marcus Morris, and one of the best defenses in the league. He's not doing this against an 8 seed or some Eastern Conference also, man. I mean, this is real big-time superstar stuff.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+. Established themselves as the team to beat. It was a night when they were honoring Kobe Bryant, the day after his 42nd birthday on August 24th. The Lakers in honoring him in so many different ways, among them by just flat playing great right from the opening tip-off. This one essentially over before it began. LeBron James and company locked in. And early on, it's a 7-0 lead, and LeBron says, I'm going to add to that. 10-0 in the first 3 minutes in favor of the Lakers. And they were just getting started. It's an 11-point game. It's Anthony Davis. The turnaround plus the free throw. He had 18 points in just 17 minutes. Had to leave the back spasms. That's worth watching. But then the Lakers with the ball movement. Contavious Caldwell-Pope. Lakers shot 56% for the night. And in that moment, it was 24-8. A poetic moment on a night with so many tributes to Kobe Bryant. To the third quarter we go. And the Lakers are just pouring it on. LeBron James from the logo. 36 feet for LeBron. He was 4 of 5 from three-point range, showing no conscience whatsoever. 30 points, 10 assists on the night for LeBron. The lead was 38, middle of the third. Damian Lillard has been so good since the restart, but it appears it's about to end here, and he may have ended last night as he lands awkwardly. Clearly, pain in the knee. He would leave and not return. He had 11. Lakers, meanwhile, didn't need any help. 18 off the bench for Kyle Kuzma. The Lakers showing out on Kobe Day, but after it was over, LeBron's mind was in a lot of other places.
Quite frankly, just in our community, and I know people get tired of hearing me say it, but we are scared as black people in America. Black men, black women, black kids, we are terrified because you don't know. You have no idea.
So LeBron James certainly not the only one in the sports world and well beyond whose mind was on the shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and we will have a full discussion on that later this morning on Get Up. But I will begin here with the basketball piece of the conversation, and Kendrick Perkins and Tim Legler getting up with us early this morning. And Legs, I will start with you. After what was sort of a wake-up call, perhaps, in Game 1, in your mind, have the Lakers now, as we look at how everybody is playing, clearly established themselves to you as the team to beat for the championship?
Yeah, I think it's logical to put them as the favorite right now. I thought last night might have been the best overall performance I've seen from any team since the restart because they had power, they had skill, they shot it well, which is not something they normally do every night.
suffocating. They just played with an energy and a quickness and an athleticism last night that just made them look so dominant. You know, I personally think that there's still roadblocks in their way, but I think it's logical to say that they probably now moved to the head of the class with the way that they played. I think what happened to the Lakers was they just didn't have anything meaningful to play for in those 8 games, and they were using it as preseason. And then the first game, they ran into a red-hot team that had just come off of basically playing 8 playoff games. So they got caught, and now they're starting to now match their intensity with their play. And the biggest thing was, if they're going to make 16 threes, you have a real problem with the Lakers, because that's the one thing that you're counting on if you defend against them that they're going to be inconsistent with.
Yeah, actually 17 last night. 17 of 39 from three-point range for the Lakers. That's over 43%. Big Perk, same question to you. The Clippers are struggling like crazy with Dallas. Milwaukee has been a tad uneven, though they won big yesterday. Do the Lakers look like the best team in the bubble to you right now?
Absolutely, Greeny. They had to give us a friendly reminder that they are. And this is when the championship experience kick in. The Lakers had the most championship experience more than any other team in the NBA. And when you watch guys like Danny Green, who had 14 points, who was playing terrific on the defensive end, getting 10 offensive rebounds. A guy like JaVale McGee, who finished with 8-8 and was protecting the rim. The guy was jumping off a pogo stick. And then we had to get another reminder that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are the most dominant duo in the NBA. Anthony Davis had a plus 37 in 17 minutes. He dominated in 17 minutes, a plus 37. That's unheard of. And then you know what happened with LeBron? He got tired of hearing about Luka. He got jealous. That's what happened. And he came out like a freight train. We seen the 4-4 speed last night, Grady. We seen him take it to another level. Him making a statement, pulling up from the logo. I mean, look, when you see this Lakers team, people were concerned, how was it? Because they know it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Timmy, let me ask you, going back to the shooting, because that obviously is an important part. The Lakers shot 56% from the floor last night. Some nights you're just going to have it, and some nights you're not, I suppose. But have you seen an adjustment they have made? That first game, they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. We talked about it, you and I, that morning following. Have you seen some sort of adjustment they've made as far as why is it all of a sudden they're getting such good looks and knocking them down?
Well, if you went back and compared last night to the first 3 games in the series, there's no question they had better looks. LeBron James was in large part responsible for that because he just completely dominated them in the paint the previous game. So they were trying to do the best they can to build a little bit more of a wall, and as a result, it's going to be harder to close out to those shooters. But if you look at the way he was getting the ball to shooters last night with that kind of velocity, with that kind of accuracy, you make guys like Caruso and Kuzma and KCP and all of those supporting players better three-point shooters if they have an extra count when they catch the ball. So I just thought their looks were so clean last night. Danny Green also, I don't want to omit him. So for me, it was just the quality of the shots that they were getting. And that's the problem when you play this team. If you don't, if you stay close to shooters, you now have a problem protecting the paint against LeBron and AD. That's the dilemma with this team.
And what is the value at this point, Kirk? Again, Anthony Davis leaving the game with the back spasms. We don't know exactly what that'll be. LeBron at 35. What is the value of putting away a series quickly inside the bubble? It's such a different environment than we're accustomed to. But you're seeing some of these teams getting stretched out. Houston getting pushed by Oklahoma City. The Clippers getting a significant push from Dallas. How important is it in your mind, Big Kirk, that they put this thing away in 5 and get some rest?
Oh, it is very important, Greeny. They have to come out with that same mindset that they've been having and jump on them like a pack of hyenas. One thing about the Lakers since game 1, their defense have been on point. They have really shut Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum and the Portland Trailblazers down since game 1, game 2, and game 3. And they got to have that mindset going into game 5 and close this series out. Big point blank.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.
points, rebounds, and assists. The next two closest are Tim Duncan and Larry Bird, which in the 20s. He was special. This is what we expected to see of LeBron James. Get the ball downhill. I'm going to the rim, Nurkic. I'm going to the rim, right side. And if I believe you're above the rim and to challenge me, I'm going to kick it out. Skip it. They can just make a few shots. I'm not asking them, as you say, I'm not asking them to be Steph Curry. I don't need them to be Klay Thompson. I just need them to hit probably like 35, 36% of those threes. And it's over. It should have been. If they had made the free throws on Saturday night, this was a 20-point whitewash. You know that, I know that. They got no answers for it. Carmelo means well, and Carmelo's having an unbelievable season. I think he's done enough to show that he should be in the league again next year for his 18th season. Gary Trent is too small. And when you play those bigs, and remember, that's why I got him on here, they got no answer. He should mark everybody when he walks on the court. Anthony Davis needs to leave when he leaves his hotel room. He needs to say, I am a generational talent. I'm looking everybody tonight. Nobody can see me. I'm the baddest mofo here. And that's the approach. And he took that approach. And everybody went, look at it. See, I told you AD saw. Nah, AD had 5 points in the first half. Had he made his free throws, he'd had 12. But then all of a sudden, the same thing happened. Remember game 3, Skip? I mean, game 2. Give me that right side. Boom. Came in there, boom. And then he got that mid-range game going. Skip. And then he figured out to hit lamp on him in the third, and then 12 in the fourth, and we go say, hold on, I appreciate it. Let me give these threes for you. Wow, step back up. It's over. And it was over, Skip. LeBron James, 38-20. Are you sure he's 35? I might need to say, I might need to pull a President Trump or Bertha. I might need to see that birth certificate. Because he's playing like he's 27. Tell me when you're finished. I feel it.
It is shameful that you and your man LeBron James are gloating about doing anything against the Trailblazers who trail every game.
Not at least.
They don't belong in the playoffs. Let's put this in some perspective, can we? What is Toronto doing, or what has Toronto done now to Brooklyn?
They
Swept them.
Yeah.
By an average of 21 points a game, Toronto just swept Brooklyn right out of the playoffs. What happened when Portland played Brooklyn for the right to get in the playoff game, the play-in game, right? It went to the wire, and it took Karis LeVert missing a jumper that was very makeable. CJ did a nice job on him for once, because Portland is by far the worst defensive team in the whole bubble. They're pathetic because they came in to the bubble 29-37. They were 12 games under 500 when they hit the bubble.
Yes.
And now they're a grand total of 35-39. 35-39. And you're over there gloating about a mismatch that should have been a sweep. I called you sweep sitting right here. I said this should be an easy sweep. And your man, the King, game 1, he's got the basketball in his hands with a 6-point lead with 7 minutes to go, and he upchucks. The whole team upchucked because AD in that game stood for all done in the fourth quarter. You know and I know you cannot trust him when the chips are down against a legitimate team. You know and I know what Charles Barkley said the other day is exactly right. He doesn't have that dog in him. If he suddenly realizes he's got a supreme advantage, he can front run with Bron because nobody can front run better than LeBron James. Oh, stop it. LeBron, we got to. This was the ultimate of that game on Saturday night. At the end of this game, LeBron makes a 3, and he's like a 34% three-point shooter, so he's got exactly a hot hand. What did he do at the end of the game when he made his last 3? He backs down the court. Here it is. He decides, well, I got this. That put him up 14, front runner, and he's mean-mugging going down the court. He is mean-mugging the Portland Trailblazers. And I immediately tweeted, and to really save it for the next round, you're wasting that on them? You're good. Oh, you're a tough guy, LeBron. You're killing the Trailblazers. Way to go. You're killing Carmelo, or what's left of Carmelo. Stop it. Just stop it. And whatever happened to Dame time? Can somebody explain to me? I've been hearing Dame was 1 for 6 from the field and 0 for 4 from 3. Can we see those 4? I don't know. Maybe I just fictionalize these. Maybe I'm exaggerating. There's the first one. No. He's being guarded by Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso, come on, Dave. Oh, that's great. Legs. Didn't have legs. Oh, it's a leg situation. Look at this. It was his hand. Oh, that's just airballed and missed the rim. At least it hit the backboard.
Hold on, Skip. Yeah, what are we doing? For the last game time? For the last 3 weeks, they had to win almost every game. He's playing 42, 43 minutes a night. You can't continuously play, and he's playing every other day. This is not 2 days off in between. He's been playing 42, 43, 44 minutes every other day for 3 weeks now. Eventually, that's going to catch up with you. You look at CJ playing heavy minutes. Melo playing 42 minutes. Skip, you can't play that.
Back-to-backs?
No, every other day. Skip, they've been playing.
Once upon a time, I covered this league when the playoffs were just full of back-to-backs. The whole playoff run, lots of back-to-back.
But Skip, they didn't play at the pace what they're playing at now. And you're asking a man. And Skip, he's giving you, it's not like he had 34 points and 2 assists. He's giving you 34 and 7. He's giving you 36 and 8. He's doing what he can, but at the end of the day, Skip, they got to be able to keep the Lakers off the glass. That's where they're losing the game, because the Lakers are killing on their offensive end. Now, although they're not getting second chance points, but it's keeping you got to guard another possession, and you got to guard another possession. Yeah. Give the Lakers credit. Now all of a sudden, everybody talking about that's an AC, that's Portland. I don't hear nobody thumping their chest, because everybody, all these pundits, all these experts, remember you quoted these experts. What experts are?
So, I'm back to Damian Lillard. I just want to know how he compares to those 2 young men that I keep watching. Last night it was late at night, but I'm talking about Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray. Those are game timers. Those are clutch late game shooters. They are special. Both of those kids, and they're still kids, are special.
I'm not taking either one of them over there.
Donovan Mitchell, same nickname, same initials. Donovan Mitchell has 33 fourth-quarter points. That leads the whole playoffs. Jamal is third in that category. In the last 2 minutes of fourth quarter and into overtime, those two are 1-2 in playoff scoring. Dame is now tied for 37th. If you add in the overtime, he's tied for 36th. And last night, they scored in the fourth quarter 18 for Donovan, and Jamal scored 21 in just the fourth quarter. It's outrageously great. And it's the kind of shooting where I say, oh, I get that. That's Dame time. That's unstoppable, because both of them can shoot mid-range jumpers. Damian doesn't have that shot.
Oh, he got it.
He's smaller, and yet, I don't think he's much smaller than Donovan. I think they're about the same size.
Yeah, Donovan, he's about 6'3".
I don't think he is. I think he's 6'1".
You think so?
I think he's listed at 6'1".
Yeah, I think the thing is, for Donovan lived at the free throw line. What was he, 17 of 18 last night at the free throw line? Jamal Murray was getting his basically in the mid-range at the three-point shot. But the difference is, neither one of Denver doesn't play any defense. Because when they needed to get a stop, Murray had got cooking. And he's like, okay, one stop. And what they do? They come down and get a layup. Okay, he comes back and matches. One stop. Okay, Mike Conley hits a 3. Okay, come on, guys, let's dig in. Let's get one stop. And there's somebody hitting a mid-range shot. Nuggets can't stop anybody.
So, everybody's gloating for LeBron and for AD because they were the first Laker teammates since way back in 2002 to go plus 25 and plus 10.
Yeah, Sacramento.
In the same game, and it was Sacramento. Okay, this was achieved again against the Trail Blazers. That was achieved back in 2002 in Game 7 of the playoffs at Sacramento against a team that went 61-21. That was the franchise record number of wins for Chris Webber and company. 61 wins. Again, the Trail Blazers right now at 35-39. And you're gloating about that? Shaq and Kobe did that at Sacramento. It was also, if you tack on the 8 assists, it was the first time in a playoff game since 2014 that 2 teammates had plus 25, plus 10, and plus 8 assists. That was KD. That was Russell Westbrook. That game was a game 6, I believe. It was at the Clippers. It was CP3, Blake, DeAndre, JJ Redick. Okay. That was a real basketball team that won 57 games. That's the most the Clippers team has ever won in franchise history.
That real Clipper team, and it still didn't advance past the second round.
Okay, but that's not a real team. But this is wait a minute. Okay, and so now LeBron is floating or taking credit. What do you think? He's passed into second most playoffs wins. He's passed Tim Duncan.
Yeah. He acknowledged him.
Do you realize the degree of difficulty that Tim had in the West versus LeBron in the East? Do you realize that Tim Duncan had to play the Lakers 7 times in playoff series? LeBron had to play the Lakers 0 times in playoff series? Wow, interesting.
But see, you never make these concessions with Tom Brady having to play in the AFC East. You never make that.
Okay, but we're talking about playoffs now.
Yeah.
We're talking about playoff runs. We're not talking about divisional or regular season.
In the playoffs, and the NFC was where it was at. Okay. Because the Green Bay, you had to go through. Skip, look, let's not diminish what LeBron is doing.
I'm going to diminish.
I know you want to, but Dame, look, I don't believe that. Like I said, I believe Dame would need to average 40. But you're asking him to play 43, 44 minutes.
I guess
every other
wearing out.
Yes!
In the 3 games now, in the 3 4 quarters, he's shooting 31% from the field. Is that good? And 33% from 3, which is a little better than he did against Golden State last year in 4 straight fourth quarters. He shot 31% from the field, same as now, but only 29 from 3. Well, so that's 4 straight fourth quarters there, not to mention the incredible long drought that he had. He went almost 2 full fourth quarters without scoring a basket, if you recall, against Brooklyn, then combined with Memphis, then combined with game 1 against the Lakers. I just keep saying, show me. Just take over a game and do what Jamal did. Do what Donovan has done again and again to put them up 3-1.
If you don't miss 15 free throws, we're not even having a discussion.
I agree. It should have been over from the start.
Yes.
I told you, you said 6. You said, so I guess you're back in the corner. Are you going to pick Portland to win a game?
Look, I don't really want to get to all this specific. You said 6 games, you said 5 games, you said 2 games.
It should be a sweep. No, it should be a shame they lost game 1.
No.
A shame.
No. Yeah, all I'm saying is Coach James is doing what Coach James does. You see this. And guess what? And we number 2 in free throws made. How we end up with we can't shoot. We are terrible, but we number 2 behind Steph Curry. We number 2 behind Steph.
Against the worst defensive team, I think, in all of basketball.
So he made all the 300 free throws against that Portland team.
Cakewalk.
Let me do this, Skip.
Cakewalk.
Give us our credit.
Cakewalk to the East.
Give us our credit. Yeah. I want my credit. Skip.
You get none until the next round when it starts. Or maybe they'll play some, I don't know, they're going to play, will Russ be back? Will it be Russ and James? At least you'd have some competition. I'll take Russ and James in the 4th quarter over CJ and the other guy, whatever his name is.
Dollar.
You know? What time is it? I think it's time to change timeouts.
I think Jamal Murray and I think Donovan Mitchell's playing unbelievable, but I'm not taking either one of them over Dame.
I would.
Okay, we are going to change topics right now and get back to more that was happening with the Clippers and Mavs series, guys, because yesterday during warm-ups for Game 4, Clippers forward Montrezl Harrell apologized to Luka Doncic after cameras caught Harrell calling Luka a, quote, bleep bleep white boy in Game 3. Luka told reporters, quote, sometimes you say things you don't want to say. He apologized. I respect that. So
For CJ Nicole. First question is coming from Jason Quick with The Athletic. CJ, just how would you describe what has transformed in this series?
We got our ass whooped tonight, so that's what happened to an ass whooping tonight, and now we're down 3-1.
What is behind that, though? Why have they been able to handle you guys the last 3 games?
Got whatever they wanted, transition, roll back,
making threes. AD's got whatever he's wanted. Brown went like 10 for 12 today. So I would say they've been able to do whatever they wanted successfully.
Next question, coming from Jason again.
If there's one thing that you could implore to your teammates between now and Game 5, what would it be? What message would you like to deliver to your teammates?
We compete. That's the biggest thing. We give ourselves a chance. Make it more difficult for them defensively and offensively. Give ourselves a chance by not turning the ball over and giving up easy baskets.
Next question is coming from AJ McCord with Coin 6.
CJ, I know by the time Dame got hurt, the score was already pretty far not in your guys' favor. But what did it do to you to see him go down like that and then not return to this game?
Well, obviously I'm thinking about him. Never want to see anybody get hurt, especially one of your teammates. So just thinking about him, hopefully it's nothing serious. But at the end of the day, life is much bigger than a game of basketball. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Jacob Blake, who was gunned down today. So prayers up to his family and just some of the things that we've been going through, as minorities in America, has to stop.
Next question is coming from Dwight James with NBC Sports Northwest.
In a previous answer, CJ, you talked about competing in the next game. How did you feel you guys competed tonight?
We got to a slow start. We got to the free throw line a lot. We got some easy baskets. Then from there, it was just downhill transition, a little bit of everything. But I thought for the most part, besides digging ourselves in a huge hole, I thought we did compete. And we just got to start games better and just try to make them play in half court. They're a good team. There's a reason why they're not.
T-Mobile and Sprint have merged, and T-Mobile doesn't just have a bigger network, but a better one than ever before.
So we bring in Tim Legler to kind of give us some more perspective on what's happened in this series, this game, and also going forward. And you got to give it up. We showed the run offensively, but the defense really sparked that run for the Lakers. How?
Yeah, Mike, I think it's maybe the most understated element of the entire bubble is how good the Lakers can be defensively, maybe of the entire season, really, because they're so good offensively with LeBron and AD. You don't really see what they're doing on the other end. Their length just completely disrupted anything Portland wanted to run offensively. Just look at the amount of pressure they extend out, the way they close out on shooters. They converge on the lane, but they still make it back out to make sure you got a hand up on all shooters. This is one of my favorite ones right here. Look at the amount of ground they cover. You get three guys reacting to penetration. Look at AD close out. That's TJ McCollum. There is no daylight there. Makes a pretty sharp skip pass to the corner. Look at Kyle Kuzma close out, hands up. Damian Lillard can't have any space in the corner. Ends up settling for a fadeaway lean back jumper. To me, that was a good sample of what the Portland Trailblazers were looking at the entire first half. The Lakers tonight, I think, may have played the best game I have seen any team play since this thing started on both ends of the floor, because they were making threes. They were aggressive going to the hole. LeBron was obviously very, very energized, but then their defense on top of it. This is about as clean a game as you could possibly play. It was Portland's worst nightmare.
Yeah, it's a cliche that defense wins championships, but it's also big facts, and this is a good example of how well the Lakers can't play it when they're dialed in. But let's go back to LeBron. I mean, look, we've been on this man since he was 18 years old. He's exceeded every expectation that was placed on him. And this long in the league, Tim, he's still capable of doing what he did tonight. How is he able to do this at this age?
Yeah, you would think by now we would stop watching LeBron and be surprised at what we're seeing. But I still am when I watch him, because I think if you showed a clip from LeBron when he was about 24, 25 years old, it wouldn't have looked much different than it did tonight, except he's a much more refined shooter than he was earlier in his career. But as far as the energy, the power, the strength, the speed, all of those things look exactly like they did when he was in his mid-20s. He gets into these places some nights offensively where he is so comfortable shooting the basketball that now really there is no answer. You know, you talk about trying to build a wall in front of him and take away those rim points and those free throws the way he gutted them in Game 3. Yeah, you do that, now he's walking into three-point shots. But tonight, I just thought his speed up the floor and the power he was playing with. You have guys on Portland, they're not small guys that are trying to guard him, are just bouncing off of his shoulders. He's a marvel. He's a medical and physical marvel. He defies physics in a lot of ways, and I was just really in awe watching him tonight, thinking how deep he is in his career, all of those deep postseason runs, and he still looks like that with that kind of energy.
And just the thought that he could potentially lead 3 different NBA teams to a championship, what a legacy that would be for LeBron if the Lakers can make it happen. We're going to hear from him and some of the other players for LA coming up a little bit later here on SportsCenter. Tim, good stuff as always, brother.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.
Is it me? Or does it seem like 5G is a little out of their wheelhouse? There it is. It's like connect the dots. Oh, that's Sagittarius.
True first need is something always hiding.
Nature Valley Pact.
They didn't take their foot off the gas. They jumped all over them. They didn't let up. And even though we can look to the greatness of LeBron James, the greatness of Anthony Davis, who's just turned Nurkic and Hassan Whiteside into meaningless bodies out on the basketball court. And for anybody that tries to come into the paint, by the way, him with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, the Lakers have just patrolled the interior and have neutralized Portland. I expected Portland's offense to be better despite the Lakers' defensive prowess, but major props to them because Portland averaged like 126 points per game since they were in the bubble. Against the Lakers, they're averaging 102. That's a 24-point difference. The defense has been sensational, but having said all of that, my skepticism still involves the Lakers' ability to hit perimeter shots. Again, against Portland, you can do some things. Against other teams, might not be so easy. And so as the playoffs progress, I expect defense to intensify, people to get a little bit more up in you, and it not to be as easy for you to score as it has been against Portland. And that to me is what I'm still concerned about. The Lakers need perimeter shooting in order to win the championship. And a lot of times they've been there, but more than enough times that perimeter shooting hasn't been there for them, and that is my concern.
Yeah, I didn't think the Lakers were going to win the championship to begin the season, but you have to be confident about their chances now to at least be a good version of themselves. You know, the Clippers had the much tougher draw in the first round. I always thought with Dallas, we still don't know how that series ends up. But going into this series, I felt very confident that the Lakers would win and it would not go 7. And we'll see if it even goes 6 now. Maybe with a healthy Damian Lillard, Stephen A., I would say he wouldn't let him go out like that, losing 4 straight. He'd have some superhuman performance and maybe get into a Game 6. But I don't see that now for this team. And in terms of your concern for the Lakers, this is the thing about having LeBron James, especially if you have another top 5-6 player on the same team with him. And remember, about a year ago, my prediction was that right around this time, maybe it was a year and a half ago, Anthony Davis would be overtaking LeBron James as the best player in basketball. I don't think LeBron is the best player in basketball. I think that's Kawhi. I'm not sure that AD is overtaking LeBron at this moment. But it's kind of neck and neck. AD is such a force, both ends of the floor. And when you have LeBron and a guy like that in his prime on the same team, then all the extra contributions from your role players, the feeling you get watching the game is if KCP or J.R. Smith or even Danny Green, who I think of as a more solid contributor for more years than those guys. Like you could rely on him to be part of a championship starting caliber kind of rotation or starting five. But if any of those guys hit shots, you throw up your hands. You go, okay, well, you're not going to beat LeBron and another MVP candidate if these guys are hitting shots. What are you going to do? And usually, Stephen A., these things regress to the mean, meaning if a guy like Danny Green gets cold, he's going to come back to himself. Same thing with a guy like KCP. KCP is a career more or less 35% three-point shooter, shooting about 5 threes a game. Danny Green is a 40% three-point shooter in his career. J.R. Smith can hit the three, as we know. So when you look at that, Kyle Kuzma's got to be the third best scorer on the team? Sure, because he can do more things than just shoot. But the other guys, they just start hitting threes as they normally do. And the Blazers and teams on that level who don't play defense will not be enough for the Lakers. I think until the Lakers run into a Clippers or maybe a Mavericks team, let's see who wins that series, but a team that's deep with a lot of talent and capable of playing defense, at least in spots. The Mavericks in the front court, the Clippers, period. I think they're going to be fine. And by the way, I just want to say, it was 8/24, right? That's Kobe Bryant Day. They don't play basketball in the summer normally, not the NBA. Will the Lakers ever have another chance to show what they can do, to honor Kobe in the way they did last night? And I have to say, as a Lakers fan, I was proud of the team for showing up like that on Kobe Bryant Day when they may never get another chance in a game that counts. And this game really counted. 2-2 or 3-1 is all the difference. So I think that needs to be mentioned.
Well, it does need to be mentioned, and they deserve major props for stepping up and answering the call in that regard. But knowing Kobe the way that I do, I definitely expect that they're going to have another chance to honor him even more, because as much as he may have appreciated yesterday, he'll appreciate it even more if they win the chip. No question about that, because that's what he was about.
For sure, but Stephen, I mean, it's 8/24. They're probably never going to play another game on 8/24 again that counts. And this game counted, and it counted a lot. So it was a great tribute, I thought.
Yeah, great tribute to him on his birthday. But I'm telling you, that championship would mean a lot more from heaven coming from him.
For sure. And LeBron James, LeBron James even mentioned as much after the game. No, LeBron James seemed to be very aware of it, seemed to be aware that the score was 24-8 Lakers at a certain point. It seemed meaningful to him because in a kind of larger emotional way, the torch got passed from Kobe to LeBron. And you could argue guys like Duncan and Shaq, of course, but in terms of the wingman that everyone identifies with, that can be the success of the NBA, that's the best player, that the guy you want with the ball in his hands at the end of the game. It went from Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant to LeBron James, and LeBron seems to be very aware of that, particularly now playing for the Lakers.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.
The answer is the Sixers, because they have two young stars who may not have reached their potential yet. The surrounding pieces, the complementary pieces, can be figured out. You just saw Popovich really run an organization where they were able to identify and develop talent to put around Tim Duncan at first and later Kawhi Leonard. And that's really the issue. You know, it's not just identifying the right pieces in the draft. It's then bringing them into a culture that works and developing them. Popovich should bring that wherever he goes. But is it better to bring that to a situation with a 30-plus star coming off a catastrophic injury from which almost no one has ever returned as exactly their same selves, and also an impossibly talented guy who seems to be bad in the locker room and disrupt team chemistry in Kyrie Irving, even though I know I'm talking about two champions? Or is it better for him to go to a team that has not been able to figure out the complementary pieces, which Popovich organizations seem to be very good at, but his team seem to be very good at, but can do it around two stars still in their early and mid-20s, still emerging and adding layers to their game, and particularly, I'm talking about Ben Simmons. Whatever you want to say about Ben Simmons, because he can't shoot, and his free throw percentage suggests he's never going to be a good shooter. But his game, where he could make improvements with the exception of that, look what he did defensively this year, guys. He became, I think, the best defensive player in basketball while remaining a dynamic offensive player. What would Popovich do for a guy like that? And then the fit between Simmons and Embiid, and how you have to get those complementary pieces just right considering their skill sets. But what's the sky is the limit if you do, right? How would Popovich be for that relationship, installing that culture with those kind of talents and then getting the right complementary pieces? I think given the age of the players on the team and what is needed, he's a better fit with the Sixers.
I completely disagree with you. I think the way for him to go would be the Brooklyn Nets. Let's understand a couple of things about Greg Popovich. Number one, he's been in San Antonio for 24 years as his head coach. His only losing seasons in 24 years was his first year and this last season. And he went to the playoffs 22 consecutive times. Max Kellerman, you're talking about developmental roles that he can play, bringing a team along, building, all of this other stuff. The man is 71 years old, turned 72 in January. We don't know how much longer he has because we don't know how much longer he wants to coach. And so when you take that into consideration, his